Every year, hundreds of lions are legally shot by trophy hunters across parts of Africa. The hunt is legal. The head goes home as a mount, the skin gets tanned into a rug, and the meat, hundreds of pounds of it on a fully grown male lion, gets left behind, buried, or simply abandoned in the bush. Think about how strange that actually is. We're not talking about some obscure protected species nobody's allowed to touch. Lions are legally hunted, legally killed, legally exported as trophies right now through fully licensed operations. And yet almost none of that meat ever reaches a plate anywhere on Earth. So here's the real question. If killing a lion is legal, why is eating one basically unheard of? The answer isn't just because it's a predator. That's the easy, half-true version of the story. The real answer involves an industry most people have never heard of, a legal loophole most hunters won't touch, and a specific chemical warning that applies almost nowhere else in the entire animal kingdom. Let's start with something that surprises almost everyone the first time they hear it. Legal lion hunting is a genuine, functioning industry, primarily concentrated in South Africa, where thousands of lions are raised specifically inside enclosed breeding operations for the purpose of being hunted by paying clients, a practice widely known as canned lion hunting. Here's the part that should genuinely stop you. Even within an industry built entirely around killing lions for profit, the meat itself almost never becomes the product. Hunters pay for the experience and the trophy specifically: the head, the mane, the skin. The carcass, including hundreds of pounds of genuinely edible muscle tissue, typically gets discarded on site or sold off separately into a completely different, much stranger market we'll get to shortly. An industry that kills an estimated several hundred to over 1,000 captive-bred lions every single year has never seriously bothered building a supply chain for the meat at all. That alone should tell you something. If eating lion were simply a matter of taste or unfamiliarity, an industry already killing this many lions annually would have found a market for the meat decades ago. Something more specific is blocking that door entirely. Here's where things get genuinely tangled because, unlike, say, chicken or beef, lion meat exists in a strange, inconsistent legal gray zone depending entirely on where you happen to be standing. Lions are listed under Appendix 2 of CITES, the international treaty regulating trade in endangered and threatened species. That listing doesn't ban lion products outright, but it does require permits, documentation, and strict tracking for any lion parts crossing international borders, meat included. In the United States specifically, lion meat sits in an even more unusual position. It's not federally illegal to possess or consume lion meat that was legally obtained, but because lions aren't classified as livestock or a recognized food animal under USDA inspection categories, there's no legal commercial pathway to slaughter, inspect, and sell lion meat the way there is for cattle, pigs, or poultry. A handful of specialty butchers and exotic meat sellers have occasionally offered legally sourced lion meat in the US over the years, specifically because no federal law explicitly bans it. But they operate in a genuine regulatory gap rather than an established USDA-approved system. Within South Africa itself, where the vast majority of legal lion killing actually happens, the situation flips again. Domestic sale of lion meat for human consumption isn't a significant established practice, partly due to weak local demand and partly because the entire industry's economic structure was built around trophies and bones, not meat, from the very beginning. If you're enjoying this video so far, make sure to subscribe to the channel. Your support really means a lot to me and helps me create more videos like this. Thank you for being here. This brings us to the genuinely strange market that actually does exist for dead lions, and it has almost nothing to do with food. South Africa legally exports lion bones, specifically to parts of Asia, where they're used as a substitute for tiger bone in traditional medicine products and lion bone wine. Following years of tiger populations collapsing and international tiger bone trade being restricted, conservation groups have documented and repeatedly criticized this specific trade for years, both on animal welfare grounds and because it may be indirectly fueling continued demand for big cat bone products more broadly, potentially undermining wild tiger conservation efforts elsewhere. But from a purely economic standpoint, it reveals something important. When an industry actually goes looking for a use for a dead lion's body beyond the trophy itself, it reaches for the bones, destined for medicine markets, not the meat, destined for dinner tables. Even in a system specifically designed to extract maximum value from every part of the animal, meat consistently loses out to trophies and bones. Now let's get into the biology, because there's a real, specific reason professional hunters and wildlife veterinarians treat lion meat with more caution than typical game meat, and it comes down to one particular parasite. Lions carry meaningfully elevated rates of Toxoplasma gondii, the parasite responsible for toxoplasmosis, compared to herbivorous game animals. This isn't especially surprising once you think through the biology. Toxoplasma spreads through a predator-prey cycle, and cats, domestic and wild alike, are the parasite's definitive host, the only animals in which it can complete its full reproductive life cycle. A lion sits at the very center of that cycle. cycle, hunting infected prey animals throughout its entire life and accumulating exposure in a way a zebra or impala simply never does. For most healthy adults, toxoplasmosis from properly cooked meat isn't typically life-threatening, but it can cause genuinely serious complications for pregnant women and anyone with a compromised immune system, and thorough cooking is specifically required to neutralize the risk reliably. Wildlife veterinarians and professional hunting outfitters who do occasionally handle lion carcasses consistently flag this specific parasite risk as one of the clearest, most concrete biological reasons lion meat gets treated with more caution than typical antelope or buffalo meat harvested from the exact same regions. Beyond the parasite risk, there's a second, more basic problem: what a lion's muscle tissue actually is biologically at the moment of death. Lions live lives defined by short, explosive bursts of intense physical activity, territorial fights with rival males, high-speed sprints during hunts, and near-constant tension defending territory and cubs from rival prides. That kind of chronic physical stress keeps a lion's body running on elevated cortisol and adrenaline far more consistently than a grazing herbivore's ever does. The resulting muscle tissue tends to be tougher, leaner in an unhelpful way, and carries a notably strong, musky flavor tied to testosterone-related compounds that build up specifically in an intact, mature male's tissue, the exact animal trophy hunters are specifically paying to kill. Hunters and guides who've actually tasted lion meat, and a small number genuinely have out in remote hunting camps, tend to describe it in strikingly consistent terms: edible, but tough, gamey, and considerably less appealing than the antelope and buffalo meat already sitting in camp. When you combine a genuinely unpleasant eating experience with a real parasite risk and zero established commercial supply chain, the incentive to actually eat the animal collapses almost entirely, even in situations where killing it was completely legal. There's also a cultural weight attached to lions specifically that goes well beyond ordinary predator avoidance, and it's worth taking seriously as its own factor. Across an enormous span of human history and geography, the lion, specifically, more than almost any other predator, became a direct symbol of kingship, divine authority, and national identity. Ancient Egyptian pharaohs associated themselves directly with lion imagery. Medieval European heraldry placed lions on more royal coats of arms than any other animal by a wide margin. Multiple African nations still feature lions directly on national emblems, currency, and flags. So the honest answer, once you put every piece together, isn't really that lion meat is forbidden or impossible to eat. People occasionally have eaten it, in genuine emergencies, in remote hunting camps, in a handful of legal gray market transactions. The real answer is that almost nothing about the practical picture ever lined up to make it worth doing at scale. An entire hunting industry built specifically around killing lions has never bothered building a supply chain for the meat because trophies and bones were always more profitable and considerably less complicated. The legal framework surrounding lion products is genuinely inconsistent from country to country, built around trophies and conservation concerns rather than food safety and commercial slaughter standards. The parasite risk is real, specific, and well documented among the people who actually handle these carcasses professionally. The muscle tissue itself, shaped by a life of territorial violence and physical stress, doesn't reward the effort even when someone does try it. And on top of every practical barrier, humans spent thousands of years turning this particular predator into one of the most widely recognized symbols of power on the planet, which was never going to make it an easy sell as dinner. Lion meat was never banned by some single, clean rule. It just never had a single good reason to exist as a real mainstream food product. And by the time anyone might have seriously tried to change that, dozens of separate, unrelated barriers had already quietly locked the door from different directions at once. If this video changed how you think about one of the world's most recognizable predators, hit like, subscribe for more, and let me know in the comments. Did you know lion hunting was still legal before watching this?